Hi, this is Les-Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. In a 162-game schedule, baseball, until you get to September, one win is no better than another. But when a team is in trouble, it is nice to know that there's still a little fight left in them, especially when there are 4 months left to go in the season. Such was the case last night when Zach-Plesac gave a tremendous performance in his debut appearance in Fenway Park, while the offense came alive with 7 runs in the last 2 innings in a game that never should have been played in Boston due to the rain. My guess is that a great number of people who consider themselves Indians fans never saw the last 8 innings, thinking the game was rained out, which it should have been. Now they could get blown out tonight, and last night wouldn't mean a thing, but I'd like to think it was a season-saving game for this team, one that really needed it. Terry-Pluto is here. More Sports and Les-Levine is on the air. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les-Levine, it's a Wednesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les-Levine, exclusively in its 23rd year on cleveland.com. Terry-Pluto, the 10-time Sports Writer of the Year, has that been added to lately?
No, they're subtracting. I'm down to 3.
Oh, you've lost 7?
Yeah.
Wow, that was a bad week.
It was a bad week. But I'm on with you, Les. I can regain it.
It's another good week for you. So,
yes.
What's new in your world?
What's new in my world?
Yeah.
I don't have a Rolls Royce like Odell-Beckham.
Well, we'll show that a little bit later.
Okay.
In the Brown's orange, seal brown and orange.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let's see. Plesac to me looked a lot like Shane Bieber.
I got to tell you something.
I watched pretty much. I actually picked it up after the rain delay.
Right.
Watched it for a while and then went to bed about the 7th inning. So I missed the
comeback. So you missed the end.
Yeah.
Okay, I missed a couple innings in there, but what I caught of him is he looked as it's his major league debut in Boston's Fenway Park. He looked like he's been doing it for 20 years.
In the rain, which could be really, it's one of those things, well, you get called up, it's the middle of a rainstorm, I'm pitching against David Price. The team hasn't won a game in a week.
Right.
Other than that, I got a lot going for me.
But he was smooth.
He really was. I mean, I think he's like a 16th round pick out of Ball State.
Right.
They took him even though he was just coming off Tommy John surgery, so you know, good job by the farm department with that one, and then the rehabilitating, the people who do the rehabilitation stuff, because it's like you never know. I remember the Indians, another guy they took who was coming right off of Tommy John elbow surgery was Vinny Pastano, and some people wonder, well, what did you take him for or whatever? And they were patient, they waited, and of course they got a number of good years out of him.
Yeah, 4.
And traded him for?
I forget.
Mike Clevenger.
Oh, that's how that turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was good all the way around. They go and
was,
they
but
take a chance
it's always
on
interesting because the free agent baseball draft, the amateur draft's coming up, and you'll see them probably take 1 or 2 of these guys with bad arms. Now the flip side, Brady Aiken, remember him?
Yeah, he had 2 surgeries, didn't he?
Well, basically just one big one. But the thing that happened, he was originally a high pick by the Houston Astros. They did the regular MRI and things of his pitching elbow, looked at it, and it said, that's a Tommy John surgery waiting to happen. So they cut his bonus offer in half because they said there was some risk. Aiken's agent said, no, we're not going to sign. Instead, we're going to wait till go around, get into the draft next year. They went to IMG Academy down in Bradenton. He pitched a couple games. He blew out his elbow. So then it came up, and the Indians were like, do we take him or not? They took him low in the first round. And I want to say it's about 4 years ago now. We'll check it. And here he is. Right now he's still pitching in Goodyear. He pitched in Lake County a couple years ago. Did poorly. Could barely hit 90 on a radar.
So everybody messed up on that one.
Yes. I mean, it's like the Indians feeling is we'll get him, we'll rehabilitate him. I mean, we just saw here a prime example. But so far it's not worked out. Where before, I think they even felt if he only got 80 or 90% back of that 97-mile-an-hour fastball, he's a lefty, we got something special. But right now, it's like he and Danny Salazar have been in Goodyear a long time.
216-575-0403. You can email us during the show at reallesslevine@gmail.com. Terry-Pluto is with us. Terry, lots to talk about here. You've written extensively in the last few weeks on some pretty hot topics. But before we get into that, I want to mention you're going to be making appearances at a couple of libraries in the viewing area. And June 4th, that's a Tuesday, you'll be at Uniontown at 6 p.m. And Thursday, the 13th, you'll be at Lakewood, and that'll be at 7 p.m. It's absolutely free to people coming in. They're more than welcome to buy books from you, but it's free to come in and
they
chat.
can bring other books for me to sign and just try to make them be a book that I wrote.
You mean somebody will bring you a book that was not written by you?
It happens once or twice a year.
So do you sign your own name or somebody else's?
Well, one time was really like something very strange, and I said, well, at least like bring me John Grisham or somebody who's rich. You know,
216.
Maybe it'll rub off on me signing his book.
Let's talk about the Browns for a minute or two, or 50, 58 or 9. Biggest surprises, who you're looking for, the expected surprises, or you got somebody in mind? I thought there was a fabulous article written today, and it was in cleveland.com yesterday, and today it's in the actual Plain Dealer about the walk-on, the return man.
The Giuseppe kid. Yeah.
What a great story that is.
Talks his way in.
I hope that he makes all pro, and then every kid in the world starts lying to get in on practices. But that was a great story.
It was, and it's like I remember they signed him like for 2 years. He's nowhere. You can't find him on the internet.
Right.
You can't. It doesn't
he
even
didn't make
exist.
a team.
Right. It is amazing to see that. And a couple of these guys. I had a reader send in questions. By the way, think about this for Browns fans. So I wanted something really easy to write on Memorial Day, early evening. I put up, hey, Browns fans, send in some questions on the Browns. I got over 100 of them between Facebook and Twitter in 3 hours. It's Memorial Day.
Yeah, and not only that, I noticed when I read it on Memorial Day, they're coming from all over the place.
All over the place, they really are. And a couple of the things were, what about surprise players?
All right, so who could be the biggest surprises this year?
I mean, I mentioned one guy that he's a big name, but it's like they never talk about him anymore. Olivier Vernon, because I just think that he's the defensive end to play across from Myles Garrett, and I think he could do well. A couple fans asked about Antonio Callaway. The problem there with him having a breakout year, he would need people in front of him to get hurt. It isn't just that he has Landry in front of him, and he has Odell-Beckham. Remember, Baker-Mayfield left his brother Rashard Higgins. So he'd be like number 4. I almost see him. Remember how they would bring in Rashard Perryman and just tell him, run down that field that way. And maybe they might heave it to him or not. That's what I see Callaway doing, returning kicks, which I thought he looked pretty good towards the end of the year. So there's a couple guys. Chad Thomas, I know, is somebody that John-Dorsey wants to be a surprise player. Defensive end he took in the 3rd round last year.
Oh.
And, while it's pretty cool, Austin Corbett, a 2nd-round pick, is, going to get first shot to start. Thomas is behind Vernon. He's behind Myles Garrett. But he should get some time. And they've been playing him a lot.
Is that right about Corbett? I thought they already knocked him down on the depth chart.
I think that was just for one day.
Oh.
Because they put the kid from St. Edward's Callis in front of him.
Yeah, because you shouldn't lose your job like that on one day of practice.
I think sometimes. Also, they were working him at center. The thing to keep in mind, J.C. Treader, before he came to the Browns, had an extensive injury history. Now their center's been healthy the last couple of years, but before that, in fact, when he was in Green Bay, where all these guys were, the front office, they went through one injury after another. So that could be they're training Corbett as a backup there, thinking, hey, he does get hurt.
Well, you almost have to do that. You don't want a guy getting hurt and then you're scratching your head on Sunday night saying, what do we do now?
Right, and I think James Campen, who was the offensive line coach with Green Bay, he's now with the Browns. Again, they're using that Green Bay lens at looking at some of these players. And that leads you to Jermaine Whitehead, strong safety. They picked him up from the Packers about a year and a half ago. Steve Wilkes has been singing his praises. Dorsey, in a casual conversation about 2 months ago, mentioned we're talking about safeties, and this was right after they traded Jabril Peppers. He said, don't discount Jermaine Whitehead. I'm like, seriously? I said, who? He said,
these guys, they don't just throw those names out haphazardly. There's a reason why they're throwing names. Isn't it sort of a made-up situation from a PR standpoint?
Right, and also, I think it just could be, especially this time of year, this is like a scout's time of year when they go to OTAs.
Right.
I mean, they're not spending a lot of time looking at how does Joe Petonio look unless he looks awful.
No, it's the new guys.
They're looking at the new guys. They're looking at the bottom of the roster guys. They're looking at their draft picks from a couple years ago. You know, are they stepping up? Can they show me something? You know, along with the rookies they bring in. So suddenly you're hearing about Chad Thomas, and you're hearing about Jermaine Whitehead, and you're hearing about Phillip Gaines, who's another guy, defensive back they signed. We may not hear much about them during the regular season, but right now those are the guys that are really catching the interest. You know, Derek Lillies, remember him, the tall receiver?
Yeah.
He and Damon Ratley.
He made a great catch, and everybody said, "Who's that guy?"
Right, he's like 6'4". Actually, he had a chance to play quite a bit, and then he fractured a collarbone real early in the season.
Right. All right. You in this opening salvo here, you mentioned Green Bay numerous times, which reminds me that one of my favorite players of all time was Bart Starr, who passed away, and he was a terrible coach. I won't say he was terrible. He had a terrible record as a coach of the Packers, and that's just there's so many items of proof how great players don't necessarily become great coaches. Bart Starr was as good a quarterback at that day as anybody.
Because it's a different skill set.
What, being a coach, being a player?
Sure. Yeah. In so many ways, even personality-wise. You know, if you're a great player like Bart Starr and you're sitting there, not only is the player not as talented and not even as bright of learning things as you are, if you've had like not a lot of off-the-field mess in your life and you're dealing with these different players and they come in and they're like, you know, one dysfunctional story after another, their home life or this, that wears a lot of the stars out too, because it's like, come on, man, concentrate on the game here.
I'm just trying to think, how many former players are head coaches right now? Not a lot.
That would be a really good thing to go through and see.
Got to think about that. A couple of linemen have been, but there's no quarterbacks
in the division, Tomlin didn't play in the NFL.
Harbaugh did.
Harbaugh did. Who's the guy? Zach Taylor in Cincinnati didn't. Kitchens didn't. So you know, Belichick didn't. Sean Devaney? What's his name from? McVay. He didn't. So that'd be interesting to look at.
I'm sure there's a couple, but none come to mind.
Not too many.
No.
In fact, there's probably more big league baseball players, for example, managing than there are NFL players.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Terry Pluto of the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com is with us. When we get back, we'll take a look at the Facebook question of the day, and it's kind of different. And you, of course, can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine, with new content posted each and every day. When we come back, we're going to take a look at how the national media views the young Cleveland Browns stars. If that concerns you in any way, shape, or form, Terry Pluto with us exclusively on cleveland.com.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Birthdays for today: Richie Guerin, the basketball player; Filibuster, the former senator, you remember him? 1947. Eric Davis, Carmelo Anthony,
Carmelo
about
Anthony, by
Alonzo?
the way, did you hear the last 6 months Carmelo Anthony and J.R. Smith played a lot of one-on-one? I mean, really, they both got cut and nobody picked them up.
They had nothing to do.
J.R. didn't get cut. He got put in whatever he is.
Well, he deserved whatever he got based on what he did on the rebound. Alonzo G, remember him?
Yes, right. One of the guys right after Jamario Moon to replace LeBron James for about 5 minutes.
Nick Whitgren, seen on the left, has done a pretty good job for the bullpen of the Cleveland Indians. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Do you care, when you see ratings by other writers around the country, do you give short shrift to it? Do you give any credence to it? What do you do, or don't you bother
look at
with
it, and if I needed something for a column material, fine, but I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about it.
Well, for some reason, a lot of people think the Cleveland Browns have some pretty good players for some reason.
Because they probably do.
They probably do. We want to know if you think the future is bright for the Cleveland Browns. Let's take a look at the top 25 players. This is from CBSSports.com. 25 players under 25 years old. Patrick Mahomes is the best. Joey Bosa of Ohio State is second. Look at that. Myles Garrett is third. Deshaun Watson fourth, and then number 5, Baker Mayfield. So they think two of the top 25-year-olds and under are members of the Cleveland Browns, Myles Garrett and Baker Mayfield. I keep hearing that everybody behind the scenes expecting an unbelievable year from Myles Garrett.
Just because the defensive line is better with Sheldon Richardson, Olivia Vernon.
And he's learned.
And the interesting thing about the list, it shows what positions they value. 3 quarterbacks, 2 defensive ends. Pass rushers and passers. No receivers, no running backs, right?
Well, which is, most GMs don't value receivers very much either.
At least in terms of like when they go to what do you want on your team. If you got a quarterback, then you want to improve your pass rush, stop the other quarterback. And then you fill in with all the other stuff. But it's phenomenal, because if you would have gone 2011, 2013, pick a year, would the Browns have had one guy on that list?
No.
I mean, even though they had all those high draft picks, all those young players.
No. Let me ask you this on a personal note. The way the Browns look like they are being assembled and what we hope they will do, are you getting calls from all over the country more than any other year to talk to reporters, to talk to radio people, or don't you get a lot?
I get some, but actually more were lately, because I had that interview with Dan Gilbert and all that had to do with some calf situations.
Right.
But
of course, that was before he suffered the stroke. When we all are hoping
actually, it was a week from yesterday's when Dan spent over an hour with me for an interview, and I thought. And I had some time with Dan about a year and a half ago. Frankly, I thought back then he looked more run down and all that than he did last week. He seemed in very kind of good shape and good spirits. So, my prayers and thoughts have been with him. And from what I understand with that hospital, he's really in the right place.
Okay, tell me, for a moment, let's put that aside.
Yes.
What did you get from him? Because it's going to be interesting how, even if he comes back 100%, it won't be immediate, so somebody else is going to have to carry out his, I'm calling it orders, but I guess for lack of anything else, do we assume Len Komorowski becomes in charge?
Yeah, I mean, somebody like if Kobe Altman has a trade set for, J.R. Smith, that contract there or something before the draft, somebody's got to say, yes, we're going to do it. Maybe if it's Komorowski, that's probably who I would guess. But in terms of how he's seeing the team, he's talking the right stuff. He's talking patience. He knows that when he hired Beilein, even though he's, 68 years old, or 66 years old, I'm sorry, you have a learning curve, and you do have to be careful with that, and you've got to watch what type of roster you bring in, because you have to make sure it's veterans that want to play hard, or young players that want to learn, because he's going to be doing it in many ways like a college team. A lot of this is how we shoot, this is what we do, this is how we play. He seems to understand that.
You got to wonder about Beilein. Beilein agrees to a contract, didn't have an agent, right?
No.
Then all of a sudden, this happens to Gilbert, and he's got to think, oh my goodness, what do I do now?
Right. Well, it's like everybody else there's probably glad they all have long-term contracts. But the flip side is that, hopefully Dan recovers reasonably well, and everybody just takes, with the Cavaliers, everybody just needs to take their time right now. Dan needs to take, even if everything went extremely well after strokes, unfortunately, because of my father and 2 close friends, I've seen all kinds of, both sides of all strokes, ones that went well and ones that didn't. Either way, your body is exhausted after you have a stroke. So, even in the best circumstances. So that's number one. Number two, you got to wait on the team, just to see it gets better, what they do, that kind of stuff. So.
We haven't talked since, but what did you think of the Beilein signing?
At first, it's like, what are they doing? You're taking a guy, 66 years old, never coached in the NBA, and was an assistant or anything. Then I said, well, would I rather have John-Beilein kind of drawing up the plays and coaching, or Nate Tibbetts or whatever
That's
guy?
Exactly how I feel.
Name your faceless assistant. Who maybe drew up some plays in the D League, maybe not, maybe in the Summer League, maybe not. And then it was very clear the man wants this NBA challenge. And
he doesn't have to recruit.
No, and I'll tell you this. Frankly, you know how you get a good deal from Dan Gilbert? I'm not sure that Beilein didn't do it because of that, but you do what Beilein did. You meet with him man-to-man. You talk it over. You have your lawyer kind of look it over and make sure stuff's legal, and that's it.
Well, that's what happened with LeBron.
Yeah, LeBron was there. I mean, the agent was there, but it's really LeBron and Dan talking stuff out. And Gilbert likes that better than being pressured by the high-power agent. That's part of the. Remember how Tyronn Lue's contract dragged on and on and on. That's why it was a war between Dan and the agent.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Terry Pluto is with us. We have determined the future is bright for the Cleveland Browns. Your point that 5 years ago no Brown would have been on that list.
I mean, 2 out of 5, and you could argue Baker-Mayfield should have been higher.
Yeah, you could. When we come back, we're going to take a look at Odell-Beckham's new car. You want to look at that?
Well, it's the one that you drove over to work today.
I did. The color was exact. The burnt orange. It's exactly what it was. 216-575-0403. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. Catch the excitement of live harness racing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturdays at the post time of 6 p.m. Northfield Park opens early every day for simulcast action from the top thoroughbred and harness tracks all around the world. Free handicapping contest every Sunday for a chance to win top prize $500 in cash. Free parking, free admission every day. That's at Northfield Park. Terry and I return in a moment exclusively on cleveland.com.
When my dad started Nature Stone right here in Northeast Ohio, he created a solution for age-old concrete problems. Unevenness, cracking, pitting, and more. Nature Stone solves all of these problems in garages, basements, and outdoor spaces. Nature Stone is beautiful, environmentally friendly, and always affordable. Plus, Nature Stone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of May and get up to half off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Here you go. Time for a How Come Quickie. Terry, how come on holiday weekends grocery stores conspire to sell packages of 6 hot dogs with 8 buns? Are you pondering that in any way, shape, or form?
That one confused me.
Well, it should be 8 and 8 or 6 and 6. Before we get into some other areas here, I want to continue to talk about the national media and what they think of the Cleveland Browns. But before we do that, you checked on Zach-Plesac. His record, his minor league record was 49 games. He was 16-9, 2.99 ERA, and how high did he get?
I mean, basically he pitched In 2017, he pitched only 8 games. I forgot, it was like 30 innings in like Mahoning Valley and somewhere else. Remember, he's coming back from the arm surgery.
Right.
Last year, he started at Lynchburg, and at the end of the year, pitching at Akron. And then this year, he started at Akron, pitched a couple games at Columbus, and here he is.
Here he is. Hopefully.
And and since Bieber kind of shot up like that too.
Right. Plutko looks the other way.
Yeah. Well, Plutko, to be fair to him, he rushed back from pulling a muscle in his forearm.
That is true. That is true. All right. Odell-Beckham bought a car.
Yes.
What kind of car do you think he bought?
Toyota.
Or a Rolls-Royce.
Corolla.
One of the two. A Rolls-Royce Corolla. All right. It's got a special thing on the hood of his car. Let's take a look at the Rolls-Royce. There you go. Look at the color. And there's the hood. There's the ornament. And then there you go. But also, we've got him catching a pass, or he's got himself catching a pass.
With one hand.
With one hand. We'll see if we can get that a little bit later. But there it is. I wonder which Cleveland dealer. Who's the Rolls-Royce Cleveland dealer? Anybody have any idea?
I don't know.
They got themselves a...
Whoever it is, he needs to advertise on your show.
Well, apparently they are right now.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to me. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. So I hope he doesn't speed or commit any other alleged crimes, because he won't be hard to spot.
No, he won't be hard to spot.
The only orange car in the
Actually,
whole
the stuff
county.
that you heard about Beckham, it wasn't actually problems with the law, unless I missed something.
No, there isn't.
It was just him being, I'm the greatest, throw me the ball.
Yeah, right.
You guys don't know how to run the offense.
Right.
That kind of regular receiver diva stuff.
Well, that goes with winning and losing. So,
yeah.
All right. So they, in addition to Odell Beckham, they also apparently have some other wide receivers on the roster. Let's take a look at what Bleacher Report says about the best receiving corps in the NFL.
I guess so.
Atlanta Falcons number 1, Kansas City Chiefs number 2, Tampa Bay number 3, the Browns at number 4, and the New Orleans Saints at number 5. You mentioned 5 years ago you wouldn't have had it. It seems to me that every list of anything has the Kansas City Chiefs up near the top.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, basically, of those 2 top 5 teams, 2 of them were put together by John Dorsey.
Exactly. Well, 13th place, the Steelers, Bengals at 14th, and the Ravens at 24th.
Seems like the Ravens never have good receivers, but they have a good team.
Why do you suppose that is, besides Ozzie Newsome?
And defense.
Harbaugh
is a really good coach. Now, apparently, they're trying to put in an offense where Lamar Jackson throws the ball more.
Okay, well, that's doomed to fail.
It's been kind of mixed results thus far.
All right, let me just go on record as saying that's doomed to fail.
Yes.
But keep on doing it, Ravens. It's okay with me.
But you know what you could do? A lot of times you do all that, then when the season comes, you come back to run the read option. And
yeah,
you're going to have to
after about game 2, that's what they're going to do.
And then once in a while, if he needs to throw it, he can. But
what is Harbaugh thinking? Or is that
they have a new offensive coordinator,
yeah.
And I think that he's Greg Roman, who actually is from John Carroll, and he was with the team last year. I just think he's trying to just get the guy to throw the ball better. Well, you have to throw it some.
Yes.
You don't,
in the NFL today, you have to throw it more than some.
Yeah, and the other thing, it's just like what's important with Baker Mayfield. Your quarterback has to run, not to get tackled, but to create space and everything else. In fact, Les, one of the reasons I totally misjudged Baker Mayfield, and I was talking to Dorsey about this not long after they drafted him. I said, remember Mayfield, when you first see him, he drops back to throw, and it seems like he has happy feet. He's got going here, this and this.
Yeah, but he doesn't have it now.
And he still has some, but he goes, what he's doing, he's creating. He goes, watch, his eyes are always downfield, and he's looking for the, quote, windows to throw.
Okay, so if the legs are moving, the defense is moving with him?
He's creating angles, in other words, to throw it. Isn't like he feels the defense coming down like Deshaun Kaiser.
That overcomes his size, not being tall.
That's how you get, and he says, watch, Russell Wilson does some of the same things, and then make sure you run out of bounds, by the way. Don't get hit.
216-575-0403 is the number to call if you'd like to get in. Dennis Maniloff will be here tomorrow night from WTAM Radio. That'll be tomorrow night. We do the show from 6 until 7 live. That's Eastern time, and you can archive it all day long. Go back in the past and go back and find some segment you might want to look at. That, of course, on cleveland.com. When you get back, we'll listen in. We got the voicemail of Truth and Reason. You can call in anytime, 24 hours a day on that one if you can't do it while the show is on live. 216-200-6650 is the number to call. Call anytime. Try to keep it as short as you can, and we'll use the best messages in a future show on More Sports and Less Levine, seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family cool this summer,
let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at 440-449-HEAT.
Let's look at this date in sports history. Speaking in the third person, Ricky Henderson breaks Ty Cobb's record with his 893rd stolen base.
Nobody cares about stolen bases anymore.
Not anymore.
I actually kind of like stolen bases.
How have they undone the thinking of guys who, let's say Chris Antonetti. He didn't grow up in analytics. He might have found it and fell in love with it, but when he started, he was traditional baseball, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he was interested in it, but it wasn't like what now. I mean,
strikeouts were terrible to have.
Strikeouts were terrible. Here's why you like stolen bases. And by the way, we have to give something nice about Jose Ramirez.
Okay.
I think he's 14 for 14 in stolen bases. When he finally does get on, which is rarely, but he does, he can still steal bases.
Yeah, and he times it pretty well. He doesn't do it on the first pitch.
No, he's really a good base runner.
Right.
And so basically, if you're fast, you turn a walk into a double.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't like show up that way on their quote analytics.
Well, what happened? I mean, I always grew up if you had a man on second and a guy gets a double, a man on second, nobody out. Even if you make an out, if you're hitting a ground ball to second, you've done your job. You never hear that anymore.
Well, they'll say maybe somebody should do it, but the problem is everybody has just been taught, as you said, strikeouts are sort of irrelevant. So that means you can just go to try to pull the ball. And on top of that, I hate these words, Les, launch angle.
I'm with you.
It's really hard to hit a ground ball to the opposite field when you want a launch angle, because that means you're going to be uppercutting and pulling it.
Well, all right, if you're a right-handed...
I know, it's hard to finish that
If you're
sentence.
a left-handed batter...
Yes.
And they've got everybody on the right side of second base...
Yes.
Even if you make an out because you don't know how to... You haven't learned how to do it, lay down a bunt to show them you could do that if maybe the game is on the line or a run is on the line. Wouldn't it be nice if you could make the third baseman think you're going to go down the line with it?
Well,
or am I so old-fashioned that doesn't work anymore?
We've seen Ramirez try it a couple times, hasn't been able to do it. I've seen him mess up some bunts.
But if he does it, the scouting report says, hey, be careful, he may lay it down.
That's one of those, you go out early, you just keep working on it, and get somebody to really not just throw you, the 60-year-old coach throwing 48 miles an hour batting practice.
Right, no, you want speed.
Get somebody, even if you have to bring somebody up from the minors to just do it there, and for a couple days, work on bunting the ball. Because you are absolutely right, Les, that it doesn't have to be a great bunt when everybody's way over there. Yeah. Now, Carlos Santana does it once in a while. He drops one down and beats it out.
Here's the other thing. Francona doesn't like the bunt, but now he's bunted several times in the last...
Even the last number of years, he's bunted more than other teams.
Well, he's bunting now because he knows he doesn't have a traditional hitting team, and he's got to play small ball a little bit.
He's a pretty versatile manager, Les. He really is.
Yeah, he can coach anybody. He can manage any kind of team.
That's the advantage of having him and been around. And no manager, you're always going to give him A's or whatever. But and also with this type of lineup, it's just like when you have a bad bullpen, you look like an idiot. And when you have a team that can't hit, you look feeble.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like right now, by the way, remember last year some people were worried about his relief thing? Well, he's got pretty good relievers. Most of them are no names. And they look great.
Yeah, Whitgren, whose birthday is today, just come out of nowhere, actually.
Whitgren's out of nowhere, you know. I mean, it's obviously Oliver Perez is struggling,
right.
But, you know, A.J. Cole and these guys just...
You never hear of these guys.
You bring them in, and that's
Otero's
kind of...
struggling also.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to the Cavaliers because we have their salaries and how much they're signed for. Let's take a look at the future for the Cleveland Cavaliers, at least what they have to work with. All right. You look at Kevin Love, he's got a $30 million contract this upcoming year, and he's signed through 2023. There you see Larry Nance Jr. With $11.2 million, and he's good through 23. Collin-Sexton with his rookie contract at $4 million. Tristan Thompson, and Jordan Clarkson. I almost
Everybody
forgot.
else is basically on one-year contracts.
Yeah, I almost forgot that Dellavedova is still on this team.
Yeah, because he had a major concussion. There should be another guy on there. Is John Henson on there? I do not see.
No, he's
him.
not on there.
He
Teddy Osmond.
He has an. You go ahead, sorry.
All right, tell me what the $14.2 million means with J.R. Smith and what
he's
they can do.
guaranteed $3.
He's guaranteed $3 million.
Don't ask me why. Supposedly this contract is a trading chip. I don't understand it. I've had 2 agents and 1 GM try to explain it to me. I don't understand it. But let's see if they trade it for something. When you go back
and then they'll explain it to you.
No, well, they probably will, I guess. We'll say, well, I guess it was. Somebody wanted it, and they got X back.
Right.
The nice thing is you only have 3 guys on long-term contracts. And you may want to, on that group, Jordan Clarkson may be somebody that they may not throw a ton of money at, but you may want to have for another year or two. Les, you want guys who are going to play hard every night and are durable. By the way, that's Clarkson. Now, you can say he shoots too much or whatever.
Right.
But I think he's missed only 4 games in his career. And he loves to play. You can see that Nance loves to play. Dellavedova loves to play. And I was talking to Beilein a little bit after the press conference, and you never know, but he was gushing about what he would like to try to do with Kevin Love and his offense, to me.
All right, so Nick Stauskas was on the Michigan team. Is he anywhere is he still under contract?
No, he's a
Cavs?
free agent.
All right.
He should have given half of his bonus to Beilein, by the way.
Because he turned him into a player.
Turned him into a first-round pick somehow. It's like, wow.
I think there's a couple of impressive things about Beilein, and one is that he was able to recruit sons of former NBA players.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that he recruited them. Maybe the players recruited him, possibly. But several of them entrusted Beilein to coach them on the way to the NBA.
Tim Hardaway Jr. being the biggest name. Yes.
And also, he didn't have the top 50 guys, but he had the top 100 and made them a little bit better.
The case for signing Brad Stevens actually is similar to the case for signing Beilein.
Well, except Beilein was at a bigger conference.
But in terms of the recruiting base,
right?
In other words, this was not a guy with a bunch of one-and-dones. And secondly, being a pretty versatile coach with your talent. Because, again, this is made to me by a GM the other day. Well, it goes right after the Browns, right after the Cavs. Got Beilein, he said, and this is a guy that told me that Brad Stevens would be a good hire in the NBA, and I disagree. So you think this guy's going to come from Butler to the NBA and win? He said, no, he'll be a good guy to build with if they give him the right type of roster, which everything was fine until Kyrie showed up there.
Right.
But in terms, he said, you want a guy that could take, a pretty good recruiting class, but not great, and teach the guys and make them better. And Beilein is the same type thing.
Don't you think at this point that Brad Stevens has to start winning some games or winning some titles?
Well,
because
here's what I think. If Kyrie goes to the Knicks or whatever, the Celtics are going to be better next year.
Just because addition by subtraction.
Right, and then Ainge is smart. He'll make some other moves. And they will have looked at and learned that hard lesson that you have to be careful who you bring in, especially when you have a team that is not star-driven, that is based on defense and ball movement and player movement. And you you can't just bring this other guy in there who, I mean, forget the fact whether he thinks the earth is round or flat. He just thinks it goes all around him. I mean, he does.
Do you see him playing with LeBron?
With this guy, I get anything, I guess, at this point. And by the way, LeBron will probably be open to it because he's sitting there going, we can't get anybody to play here.
Yeah. You know, we always assumed that people wanted to play with LeBron when he was here. And it turns out that was not the case.
Some did and some didn't. But Les, let me tell you this. I looked it up because I have a column coming. This will be posted Thursday. For the Celtics to give a supermax contract, which is what Kyrie would want. Ready? I'm going to give you the years and the number. You ready for this one?
Yep.
5 years, $245 million over 5. Do you give that not only to Kyrie, who had his issues, shall we say, but he had not 1, not 2, 3, there's a third one, knee surgeries.
Yeah, it's a tough call.
I mean, you're Danny Ainge.
I don't want to downgrade him because I think he's a tremendous player, but he's not good to be on. He's not a good teammate.
Do you know in the regular season last year, the Celtics were 37-30 when Kyrie played, and 12-3 when he did not.
All right.
I know it's regular season.
Yeah.
But let's flip side. Remember how I think remember when LeBron was here, it was something like the Cavs are like 4-14 or 4-18 when he didn't play.
Without him. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. I want to turn to your and my favorite sport, that of course baseball, and Cleveland Indians. They're 10 games out. Is that recoverable?
Tell me how Minnesota's going to play.
Not as good as they've played, but still pretty good because
we
they
need
can
them
hit.
to return to Minnesota.
Yeah,
that's
doesn't
kind
look
of
like they're doing that.
Right. I mean, the other day, the projection on them was 109 wins.
For Minnesota?
Yes. Because I wrote a column over the weekend, and I forgot who wrote it, and they said, well, the Twins are on their way to 109. Can you believe that?
I would say that's not going to happen.
No, but if they win 95, the Indians are in big trouble.
Well, I was going to say...
You need them to really back up. Now, their pitching staff, which has been very good, they could get a couple injuries or whatever, but Les, the problem is when you look in the mirror and you're looking at your own team, it's hard to see this team winning one of the... No. You need something like 12 out of 15. You need that kind of run.
With their pitching, the injuries to the pitchers, I don't see how they can do that. Let's take a break. We'll come on back. We'll talk baseball when we get back. Sokolowski's University, and they still have a couple of openings, not many, a couple of openings for the big wine tasting event coming up on Sunday. That's June 2nd. 3 p.m. is the start of it. They're celebrating with Wente Family Estates. That's their 100th year in operation. And Sokolowski's, of course, pretty close to that, starting back in 1923. And Sunday is the date, 216-771-8967 to make reservations for that. I'm going to be there. A whole bunch of other people. If you want to join us, do that. Let's make history together at Sokolowski's University Inn. Terry Pluto and I return in a moment exclusively on cleveland.com.
The concrete in your garage is uneven, cracked, pitted, and just plain ugly. Transform your garage into a welcoming entryway with Naturestone flooring. Naturestone corrects uneven concrete so you don't have to worry about tripping or slipping. Plus, Naturestone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Get Naturestone installed in your home by the end of May and get up to half off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Naturestone.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
All right, here
there
we go.
it is.
Your favorite picture. This
Yes.
back in 1929.
It was 1929.
Wow.
Was.
May 29th, 1959. Les's neighbor, Mrs. Rosner, steals her record 49th wiffle ball, which had been hit into her yard from Chavez-Levine. She had a quick first step, at least for an 89-year-old.
And you don't look too bad for being born in 1929.
They didn't have They didn't have pictures, and
You know,
they
you
didn't
look
have
at the
cameras.
kids like that. It's like I have no hair now, but my hair was like wiry and all that like that. How do you even grow hair like that? And then where did it go?
I just woke
in
up
my
one day.
case,
I woke up one day and there it was.
Where did it go?
It went to Fortuna, California, where Mike
All
is
right.
standing by. Hello, Mike.
Hey,
Mike.
how you guys doing?
Good. How about yourself? Hey, tell me where.
Hey, doing good. Hey, was born in Cleveland, but out here in Humboldt, and it's great to have Cleveland on every day. I used to have to call my relatives in Cleveland, like during the game, and have them put the phone next to it. So
Wow.
this is modern progress.
Tell me where Fortuna, California is.
It's like Humboldt, Northern California, by Oregon.
By Oregon, way up north, by Oregon. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to talk props out to a quarterback you never talk about. And I'll give you a trivia question, lead up to him. Who was the quarterback after Mike Phipps? And that's the guy I want to talk about.
You want to talk about Mike Phipps?
The quarterback after Mike Phipps?
Quarterback after Mike
Bill
Phipps.
Nelson and Mike Phipps were kind of going back and forth there for a while.
Brian Sipe would have been after Mike Phipps.
Brian Sipe, you're exactly right. He never gets any props. I never hear anybody talk about him.
No, and he waited 2 years to be able to play, too.
Who's that, Brian?
Brian did, yeah. I think he's still a quarterback coach at San Diego State.
Do you know that?
And one more little thing. My mom always promised me when I was in high school that if the Browns ever won Super Bowl, she'd buy me tickets. It was the drive, and she called John Elway on the sideline and said, "John, my boy don't need to go to the Super Bowl. It's only 97 yards, and I never went to the Super Bowl."
Hey, Mike, thanks for checking in with us. We appreciate it very much. That's one of the neat. It's one of the neat things. Somebody's sitting in Fortuna, California, watching.
Right. That's the blessing of the internet. Just like when I'm writing and I'm getting emails from not only around the country but around the world. Browns fan here in Singapore. I get that one.
Yeah.
There's a couple of guys that work from Northeast Ohio. They work in the oil industry, and they're in Saudi Arabia.
Watching or
watching,
reading,
watching, and I think when we're farther away from home, as Bob was there is this thing that, be it on the internet, whether you're reading or listening, is that it does just make you feel a little more like home. I don't care where you
Which is one of the secrets of Browns backers. So it works so well around the country, around the world.
It's like every time they play in Oakland or San Francisco, especially Oakland where you guys get tickets, you can just hear them screaming, the whole game.
216-575-0403. All right, let's take a look at the Browns, the Indians and the Minnesota Twins. You're going to love this, Terry.
Okay.
Let's take a look. Right now, the record for the Twins, 37-17, and their record through April was 17-10, while the Indians started out quite well for Terry Francona, 16-12.
I think that was his best April ever.
Look at the bottom, Terry. Home runs, 106 for the Twins and 56 for the Indians. That's tough. Batting average.
If you really look at it, the difference, they both played the exact amount of games. They both have played 54 games. Less runs allowed, 212, 221, not a big difference.
Batting average 50 points higher by the Minnesota Twins.
And the Twins have scored, if you look at it right there, 112 more runs than they've allowed. And the Indians are a -11.
So answer the question, can the Indians catch them?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I don't think so. And
I don't even want to do the calculations on the wild card yet.
No, it gets confusing. But if you're sitting there, if you're Chris Anthony, first of all, you got Trevor-Bauer. By the way, Trevor, you could start pitching well anytime you feel like it. I do not want to hear another. But did you know?
Trevor, if you're watching tonight.
Yeah. Did you know? He only gave up 2 hard hit balls the other night. Did you see that one?
Is that what he said?
Yeah, with the 4 runs he allowed.
Stop
with that. Maybe it's true.
Not hard hit balls don't count if they fall in?
And the 2 guys you hit with pitches, all that stuff.
Right. Well.
But if you're Chris Anthony, by the way, this is hurting you when you go to try to see what kind of market Trevor-Bauer will bring because he's got a year and a half to go, Les.
Yep, and he says he only wants to go a year at a time.
Exactly. So, number one, the only man in baseball history who loves to go to arbitration. So he's going to want to go.
Why does he? Well, what are we trying to figure him out for? Why does he want to go? Just so he can be known as the guy who beat him every year?
I think so.
Well, that's crazy.
I'm smarter than them. So, but he'll go for $20 million next year. So, secondly, as you mentioned, so then he goes in his free agent year. Unless he changes his mind, he wants to do this kind of the old LeBron deal,
right.
And that just hurts you where you're, like, for example, if a big market team, say the Dodgers wanted to trade for him. He's from L.A.
Right.
But if he's insistent on that, you're not going to get anywhere near the type of players that you would like to or think to. Because
right.
if they feel this guy just no way wants to come here and stay here more than a year and a half, and I'm going to have to pay him $20 million next year. Meanwhile, he probably thinks he ought to get out of here. So, but that's a guy I would see what I could get with him around the break and just trade him.
Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. You can have the excitement of live harness racing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Post time is 6 p.m. Lady Luck's Clubhouse for your dining pleasure on Saturday evenings, featuring a buffet just $15.95. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. We'll come back in a moment. We'll check out some How Come quickies that were sent in, and we are seen exclusively, exclusively on cleveland.com.
Your basement is damp, dirty, and not somewhere you want to spend time. Let Nature Stone Flooring transform your basement into a true extension of your home. Nature Stone's proprietary hydrostatic ports allow water to simply evaporate, so no mold or mildew. Plus, Nature Stone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Get Nature Stone installed in your home by the end of May and get up to half off. Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today.
It's not just a floor. Wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
All right, here we go. Dennis Maniloff, WTAM Radio, joins us tomorrow. And again, you see us live from 6 until 7, and that's Eastern Time, 6 until 7 p.m. And you can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/more-sports-and-les-levine. And you can email us at reallesslevine@gmail.com. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Tomorrow night, you've got Dennis Maniloff, you've got Facebook, and now it's time, Terry, to take a look at some quickies that were sent in.
All right.
And other comments.
Yes.
Cleveland Bill says the rookie pitcher showed exactly, Zach is his name,
yes,
how it's done, and the ninth inning comeback was golden. One small worrying note, even after all the heroics, Tribe had the bases still loaded and only one out, couldn't score again, allowing the Red Sox to put the tying runs on base in the last of the ninth. They figured 7 runs is enough, huh?
For a week for this team. But, I mean, to his point, though, you would have liked where you had that momentum going. Just totally bury these guys.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The
Twins will do it. We saw they scored 100 more runs than the Indians have so
Cleveland
far.
Bill has a couple of how come quickies. How come a peeping Tom is considered a pain in the glass?
I got it.
I got it too. How come the Marquis de Sade insisted on personally binding all the books in his library?
Don't want to go there.
Not sure I totally, Mr. Gullible, how come I dropped out of communism class because of lousy marks?
Oh, I like that.
Thank you. How come I took a bakery job because I needed the dough? Ooh. K-N-E-A-D-E-D.
Oh, that's a double. That's a
double entendre.
Yeah.
Daily double from our friend John Patrick. You ready for this?
Yes.
Oh, you have to grade them.
Okay.
You put the two together, come up with a good grade.
The bakery right now is leading.
Bakery is leading. How come when
Because he had 2 of them in one sentence.
Exactly. How come when I couldn't decide which flowers to buy for my wife, the florist asked, how mad is she?
I like that. I really do like that.
How come deodorant is made in a sweatshop? All right, great.
All right.
Great John Patrick's.
For the doubles,
yeah,
Patrick gets the double header. But for one sentence with a double thing in there, read that again.
How come I took the bakery job because I needed the dough?
Yes.
You like that one for
I like
tonight?
that one for, in other words, if I had one starting pitcher,
right.
he's in.
I got one game,
but
I got to win.
But if I'm playing a double header, I'm going with John Patrick's.
John is becoming very prolific, and I hope he didn't quit his job to do this. Because he's
a lot of stress on you.
He's
trying
getting
to come
close
up
to
with
the
them.
Joe DiMaggio 57 shows in consecutive order.
So I realize I kind of dodged the question, but they were different. It was a different approach. It was two for one and one for two.
Well, they both have the essence of How Come Quickies, and as Bud Shaw pointed out, at least they are quick.
Yes.
Which is very important, because we, of course, have great clock management. All right, you got a minute or two to say almost anything you want. Let's repeat where you're going to be.
Yes.
I threw out the piece of paper. You're going to be
I'll be June 4th, which is next Tuesday at Uniontown Library. I think it's actually in the Lake Community Library, but Uniontown Library, 6 p.m. Tuesday the 4th, and June 13th, 7 p.m. in Lakewood Library.
Okay, it doesn't cost
anything. Been to both
anything?
of those places before. Yeah, it doesn't cost anything. They're free. Bring books for me to sign.
You hang around after and sign books and
talk to people and all that.
What is the most, besides sports, you get a lot of faith
yeah,
column
I usually
questions?
start with sort of a little bit of a faith in you thing that I began with, and then we talk a lot of, basically then after that we talk a lot of sports and sometimes family stuff too. You know, why families are connected by sports. That is one of the more interesting.
Okay, you have written 20-some books. How many? 21.
Actually, 31.
30. Well, 20-some is 31.
Yes.
29-some plus 2 would be 31.
And it's like the doubleheader quickie.
Right. It's like the quickie. So, are you surprised? Now you get, all of them still sell, right? Or most of them still get sold.
A few sold.
No, like your Rocky Calavito, Don't Knock the Rock.
Some of those, basically in the book business now, for the most, unless you've written like Catcher in the Rye or one of these books that just sells forever, your book comes out, you got about a 6-month window where it really moves. Then after that, you sell a few here, you sell a few there. The one book that I've had that's sold for literally decades is Loose Balls on the ABA, American Basketball Association, and it still sells about 500 a year, which is a lot. But it's kind of a cult book, and basketball fans pass it around.
Well,
and
Sports Illustrated named it one of the top 100 and named it number 13.
It's a sort of like kind of perfect number for the ABA, which is a funky league. And
what's your favorite story about the ABA?
Well, I mean, they always talk about Marvin Barnes. You're looking at the, like he's looking at the itinerary. They're leaving St. Louis at 5:09, and they're arriving in Louisville at 5:07, and Barnes goes 5:09. Marvin ain't getting no time machine. You couldn't figure out how it was only 58
Couldn't
minutes.
understand how you leave when it's Eastern time and Midwest.
But what I did like
Central.
was early on in the exhibition season, they didn't have actually red, white, and blue balls made, with dye and everything.
Right.
They painted them.
Oh,
and
so it would stick on their hands?
Oh, so the first exhibition game they opened to the public, it was like these guys never saw a basketball in their life. It was just going everywhere.
Bob Costas got his start with the St. Louis Spirit of St. Louis, and he told me the story. His roommate at Syracuse was a cousin, or it must have been a nephew to Harry Weltman. Mm-hmm. And Harry, who became the Cavs general manager, was the general manager of the Spirit. And they were looking for tapes. Now, in those days, they didn't have cassettes or the more modern CDs tapes, and all that stuff. So what would happen is the nephew would go into Harry's office and continually put, like he had a stack of Bob Costas tapes.
Right.
And he would put one at the top, one in the middle, one at the bottom. And then he would see that Harry went through them. And when Harry would leave the office, the nephew would go back in and do it again.
Another one.
And eventually, the nephew told him.
And in true ABA fashion,
yeah.
See, about 70 or 80% of those announcers got knocked out because they didn't want to pay him anything.
Right, but
so
Bob didn't care. He's
cheap.
Just young and cheap because you get it on your resume.
Yeah, it's like Jack Buck looked at Costas and said, "I got ties older than you are," and walked away. How about that one?
Well, Jack Buck doing the Cardinals at that time.
Yes,
in St. Louis.
And they were at KMOX in St. Louis. They're on the big.
Did they get along or not get along?
They did, actually. But
okay.
In fact, then it became the big joke between them.
Right.
You know.
Because I didn't get along with, remember Bob Neal?
Right. And Buck's a better guy than Bob Neal there. But I think at that point.
Bob was great, though.
Yeah.
But not a nice man.
So
someday I'll tell you the
but
story,
you're a nice
unless
man.
I have already.
You have. But you're a nice man.
Well, next time I'll tell you again because it may change.
Because that's right. The more you tell it.
Great job by Terry-Pluto, the
friend of Les Levy.
A whole bunch of times. I still get great comments on the article you wrote on me, and I appreciate that very much. All right, that'll do it for us. Tomorrow night, the D-Man, Dennis Maniloff. Thanks to Terry-Pluto of all the shows I've ever done. This was the most recent.